Indeed, thanks very much to the participants in this EU project collaborative discussion that was very rich and forward-looking. It's really, the questions are actually how do we move forward from innovation to implementation, and how do we ensure that the knowledge and the tools and networks that we develop through the synergies with our projects continue creating impact beyond the life of our project. And I would personally add a note that bonding really takes time, because we started knowing each other just by projects, then by faces in online meetings, and now we get to see each other in person. So I think that the connection at the moment is deeper than ever, and we really need to take our chances on continuing that. So with that, I would like to transition to our wrap-up discussion, which again will be chaired and led by Carlos. So Carlos, please come back to the stage, and you can invite your participants.
Yeah. Thank you, Annie. Do you have power back? Someone is working on it, so that's perfect. That's great. Thanks very much. I think this is working, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Saskia, I'm going to ask you back. So we have a great panel here for a wrap-up to look at scaling C2C results, policy uptake and market, implementation, stakeholder management. We're lucky to have Saskia van Ruth, full professor of, yes, please, come up, of food supply chain integrity, or else, as you were pointing out, School of Agriculture and Food Science, O'Brien Center for Science, South University College, Dublin. We are lucky to have Sebastian Guet, founder and chief technology officer of Tilgal, a C2C partner company and key developer of the C2C traceability platform. Cristina Pita, principal and researcher in CISAM Center for Environmental and Marine Studies, University of Aveiro. See, I know. As is also a C2C partner, leading the analysis of the main barriers and potential incentives for seafood blockchain traceability deployment. And we are missing Antonio Novellino, who had to go at sea without much notice. For some reason, he had to leave and get into a boat and go out to sea. But I know, surprising. But but anyway, so let's gather some thoughts, partly from our sessions. So Sebastian, from pilot to scale, based on the C2C platform development experience, what are the main technical and operational conditions that must be in place for blockchain-based seafood traceability to move from control pilots to routine use across complex and multi-actor value chains?
Thank you, Carlos, for this question. I wanted to maybe focus on one specific condition, because that's a condition, something that has been mentioned all the day. Is this a Larsen something, or?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay now.
So I wanted to focus on a specific condition to make a traceability platform usable at large on what we like to say in production. And this condition has been mentioned in, I guess, all the sessions today, and it's data collection. So at the beginning of the project, we already had the impression that data collection is a key aspect of a traceability platform. And we suspected that data collection was a hard thing to implement. And what the pilots as one of the outcome of the pilots, it's data collection is very hard to implement. To tackle this aspect of the traceability platform, we since the beginning wanted to use a unique language across all traceability actors, because we all know that the data is spread on all the actors. Data is everywhere. Data is using every format or structure possible on Earth. And the first condition to make traceability possible is to use a unique data structure on language. So instead of creating yet another data format, we decided to use an already existing standard built by GS1, so it's EPCIS. With that, we also were really focus on not impose the platform itself to be able to connect to every available data systems, because it's too complex to do. So the second aspect of data collection we have decided to adopt since the beginning is the fact that the data is pushed to the platform. So the platform will not get the data being able to understand I don't know, SAP or any other WMS used at stakeholders places. So unique language standard, data push model, that's part of the requirement we had for data collection. And then when we are able to collect data, the second condition, I would say, for going to production is to be able to demonstrate the value of the platform. Because to make actors willing to share data, all actors, so fishermen, suppliers, transformers, everybody has to find some value into the platform. So be it less paperwork, easier stock management, you name it. Every man has to find something into the platform to accept to use it, because it must not be yet another step for their daily work. It must be an helpful tool. Otherwise, we know that data will be incomplete, or worse, data will not be shared at all. So that's one particular condition, I admit, but since we have mentioned this all the day, I think it was important to re-mention it on a more technical level during this wrap-up session.
Yeah. Okay. Saskia, back to you. So we've been talking about traceability for fraud prevention to increase trust. What do you think? What do we need for these digital traceability systems to move from beyond recording data to really generating that trust and to be effective tools to detect inconsistencies and to reveal fraud?
As I mentioned already before, it's certainly a strong technical control measure in terms of fraud, but you should see it a bit like I don't have that slide here, but if you look at the Mona Lisa in the museum, it's very well protected. And that's a bit what these traceability systems are too. There's bulletproof glass, there's a barrier at a meter or two, and then there's another barrier, and another few meters, and then the people are standing behind that barrier. And the Mona Lisa is the most expensive painting in the world. And the second expensive painting is the Night Watch in the Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And there's a completely different situation. There, when you see people, they can almost touch the painting, so close they are. And still, the painting is protected, and it's protected by people around that pick up signals of people having bad intentions. And you could imagine that, you know, with the AI developments, that would also be feasible in a different manner in the future. But then at the same time, you're protecting, but also giving others enough space. So perhaps if we could include some of these behavioral aspects, it may enrich the whole system in the end.
Okay.
It's just a thought.
Does it sound like a bit like Minority Report? A bit
Like what?
thought police?
Micro?
Minority Report, a bit of a thought police. I'm just being polemic.
Yeah.
In any case, so yeah, but it's an original approach. Yeah.
Looking at behavior,
Yeah.
at people misbehaving, or even the causes behind it, what pressurizing people in terms of fraud, may be something to remove threats and prevent it rather than mitigate it.
Right. Okay. Okay. So Sebastian, I'll get back to you. And I'm going to talk to Christina in a minute, but first I want Sebastian to talk to me about market implementation and interoperability. So how can traceability platforms such as the one that we've been talking about, the SEA2SEE traceability platform, avoid becoming isolated tools and really be of service in such a varied value chain and as a seafood market, and get into certification, regulatory reporting frameworks, consumer-facing applications, etc., etc.
Again, good question, Carlos. I would say that the first particularity of the SEA2SEE platform to avoid isolation is that it's not restricted to seafood. Because, you know, it may be not so obvious for seafood, but it is for example, for cattle traceability or some other products. There are always some secondary products that are derivative to the primary product. So for the seafood, we can talk about, for example, packaging, transportation. So the platform is able to trace all kind of events, all kind of products, not only seafood. So this allow to onboard different kind of suppliers and avoid to make the platform only useful for a specific kind of product. And also the platform exposes some features to make it easily integrated before or after any other system. So interoperability is key also for a SEA2SEE platform. Like we have said, data collection is done using some very easy data push API to put in place. And also the platform exposes a standard API to retrieve data. So interoperability is a reality for a SEA2SEE platform. Also, the platform is able to leverage other traceability system like EU traces at the center of, for example, EUDR or catch. So this makes the platform already able to be a component into all this traceability system. Also, we all know that there cannot be just one system. So interoperability is key. It's like, for example, for the phone system, telecom system, if you were able to call only people using the same phone operator, it will be unusable. So C2C platform is also designed to be part of a global traceability system.
Yep. Christina, we've been talking a lot about challenges and difficulties and problems, but really we do have a great opportunity here as well, don't we? What are the opportunities for seafood traceability to come up?
While people were talking, I took some notes because I wanted to actually, number one, attribute to the correct people what they said, and also pick up on some of the issues. Definitely critical barriers, cost above everything. One of the interesting things about the C2C project from the beginning was to understand, we very quickly moved from talking about blockchain with stakeholders to talk about traceability, because most people, and I'm talking most stakeholders, did not know what blockchain meant at all. And that includes, governmental people, people that need to be implementing, more restrictive type of traceability. So that was an interesting learning curve that we immediately went for traceability. And we identified all those problems, and some maybe, especially for blockchain, is costs. Like you mentioned, I think the complexity of the seafood supply chain, and brings up this problem of interoperability, which came up as such problematic. And I liked your telephone analogy, because if I have a Vodafone and I can only call other Vodafones, then I don't go very far, right? And this is a big problem of more complex systems of traceability. And they need to talk to each other. Fishermen sell to a lot of different buyers, and this is a gigantic, expensive problem. And but there are incentives, like you say. Although, I'm kind of negative, and not negative. I think I'm realistic, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So I think one of the biggest incentives definitely is legal requirements. But and is one of the things that the industry was most worried about when we talked to them. But I think they were thinking very much about blockchain when they were very worried about it. But like Stefan said this morning, digital traceability for the EU is just going beyond paper. So it can be an Excel spreadsheet. So most of them are using Excel spreadsheets. So they're okay. They can meet the criteria. So even the legal requirement that could be something that could force people, this would be the thing that would force people the most to do something, a legal requirement. That doesn't really exist at the moment. Then it was very interesting, and lots of people talked about consumer expectations, consumer trust, consumer demand, definitely a big driver. But consumers, like Rachel said, they are mostly concerned. The biggest driver for a consumer is price. And a lot of these a lot of these traceability tools increase price, and that's a big problem for consumers. Also, consumer, I think it was Saraya Neves, I don't know how to say her name, and some of the other previous colleagues also mentioned, consumers are quite illiterate about seafood, even what is required to be in a label, which is an FAO area. But I talk about myself. I know what FAO is. And I know some FAO areas, but if you get out of my usual FAO areas, I don't know them anymore, because I don't know all FAO areas in the world where they are located. So I would have to go Google and see, what is FAO area, whatever. And also consumers don't know what is a particular fishing gear. What is it doing? So that's, there's a lot of need. There's a huge need for consumer education. On the downside, consumer education takes time, right? Maybe the easiest to pick up school children and start with them. But that's a very long-term investment. And also, it's also interesting. You can be quite sustainable in your demands when you don't have to put the money. So you can be 15 and be quite sustainable, and then you're 25 and you need to put the money when you're in the supermarket, and then price becomes quite an important issue for you. So even that. So you see, I'm not sugarcoating anything. Then I think one of the interesting ones that I think there should be a certain demand is this demonstration for compliance, especially with sustainability demands. Like most labels, most certification schemes, I'm thinking about MSC because it's the biggest one, but they should improve their public disclosure of information, definitely should, but they do not. They don't go beyond the normal disclosure of information, but that could be something. I think it should be demanded that they actually improve public disclosure of information. And that, I think, should be something that consumers should demand from these labels. Since you're paying a premium for it, give me more information than you actually do for any other fisheries. To end in a positive note, and because I work at small-scale fisheries and because our case study was small-scale fisheries, I find that traceability can be quite beneficial for small-scale fisheries. Small-scale fisheries products are kind of special because in Europe, they mostly end up in the HoReCa channels. They're kind of a niche product. And some of these big, especially restaurants that work with certain chefs, which is mostly where small-scale fisheries products, and it's in restaurants everywhere and in hotels. They're quite interested in this storytelling to understand from sea to plate what happens to the fishery, who caught, because you can tell a lot of a story about it. You can show cultural heritage, you can show who caught it, how it was caught, the people behind the catch, the human aspects of fishery. So that's an interesting thing. But again, don't want it to be negative, but I always remember a sentence said by a person from the industry that he thought, actually having a QR code, I'm very willing to put a QR code in my octopus and show the story of the octopus from sea to plate. I think that's a great idea. And it's kind of easy, I can do it, but I'm still not convinced of how much that will actually, of the value of doing something like that. How much will actually a consumer click the QR code and see it, and see the story. So I don't know, feels like I'm not being very extremely positive. I think there's a lot of work.
I ask you about opportunities.
And which means that this network that we created, I think there's a lot of space to continue working because the challenges are so many that there is it's very good. And I hope that beyond the life of these projects, we continue maybe organizing a few talks from time to time and coming together as a group to discuss some of the big challenges with traceability. Bit negative, sorry.
Any other words? Because I think, obviously one of the things that we have to look for is what is the opportunity for the industries that are supposed to implement all this. What's coming back to them? How are they going to be receiving any benefit or any opportunity from what they're doing? And it was important to hear this morning the panel talking about the opportunities and the impact that digital traceability we could have in the business. Okay. Business opportunity as streamlining the information, streamlining the supply chain for each of the stakeholders, opportunities of connecting and e-business with the respective value chain again, making it more agile, etc. But of course, there is another aspect, which is, and it was touched briefly this morning as well, which is the unequal access to tools, so there is an opportunity here for the technology to give an equal opportunity field to small and big. But there is the same danger of wiping out the small because they do not get enough access or supported access to the technology. So that's something that I think that has to be paid big attention by regulators very, 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 very carefully. in the implementation of this regulation. Saskia, so on your experience from other food chains and from other food value chains, what lessons can we learn, and what lessons could we apply and bring in to what we've been talking about seafood and seafood traceability and regulation and combating fraud, etc.
Yeah, I think what I've seen today and what I've learned from all the EU projects in seafood area, you're quite perhaps ahead of some other chains in terms of digital traceability. There's one thing that, what I wondered, but then it's again from my fraud perspective, of course. I know an other type of chain in meat, where they also had set up this whole digital chain with DNA barcoding, following all the meat from the animal to the end product, basically. And then, you know, a system is never perfect. So they had a sort of, perhaps they reached 98, 99%. So that was an acceptable error, that there was still that mismatch across the chain. But then that percentage was gradually going down from 98 to 97, 95, 94, 91 to about 90% or even lower. And what will you do then next if there's this kind of discrepancies? And I saw there, you know, the retailer, the supplier, and the tech provider struggling because they have all these interests. And I think that's something perhaps to think of. You know, if you get discrepancies, how much would be reliably due to the system, and what's beyond it? Mm-hmm. And what will you do then next? Because that's what you see then. If they see that they can get away with it, they'll do more. Mm-hmm. So that's just the thought that I would like to share. Thank you.
Okay, so that would be the wrap-up panel. Not in a cheery note, but in a let's do more note. In a let's work still on it, because there's still a lot to do. We were talking to the to DG Mare last week together with Fisher Trust, and we were mentioning to them, look, you've made all this effort to produce this and to support all these projects on traceability, on generating digital tools for supporting this digital traceability, both at sea, in the aquaculture production, and then in the traceability across all the value chain. And we've been generating all these tools, DNA recognition of species, etc., etc. But they are at a TRL which is still not available to the end user, the industry that you want to serve. So how can we make that jump? How can we fill that gap? The answer was not, oh yeah, you're right, let's go do it. The answer was, yes, we know, we're working on it. So I think we have to obviously influence that working in progress to make sure that the appropriate tools for making that gap or jumping that gap towards serving the industry is done appropriately. So I think that we've generated trust in this room today between all the actors involved in these projects that we've been working on traceability, and still some of them working in traceability for the food sector in general and seafood in particular. I hope that we continue this trust in future collaborations. And for us in SEA2SEE, just to say, we have a very busy month ahead of us. Probably another 2 months after that to prepare the review meeting. But I think that we have a fantastic project results. I think that we've generated interest from the people who were watching us today. And I think that we've made friends and relations that are going to last into the future. So for all that, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody watching us. And I hope that Annie will be having to tell us something now about housekeeping and closing the day.
Thanks, Carlos. Okay, before we close, we have an address, like a video that is recorded by the Secretary of State for Fisheries and Maritime Affairs of Portugal, Mr. Salvador Malheiro. So I would like to play this because it is for the entire consortium, for our guests, panelists, presenters, everyone. I think it's very an honor for us to have this. And then we will close it officially, and I will ask you to let us know for SEA2SEE Consortium who is attending the dinner tomorrow night. But we can do this after we watch the video. So Lassie, please.
Minhas senhoras e meus senhores, caros membros do Conselho.
Yes, I already thank all of them, but also the panel. Thank you for the interesting discussion.
Minhas senhoras e meus senhores, caros membros do consórcio do projeto SEA2SEE, quero começar por felicitar calorosamente todos os que intervieram no projeto SEA2SEE. Graças a todos, foi possível o encerramento deste ambicioso projeto com manifesto sucesso. Desde já, os meus parabéns. Ao longo deste percurso, o vosso consórcio internacional demonstrou visão e empenho de forma exemplar. O resultado está à vista. A criação de uma ferramenta inovadora, robusta e, sobretudo, ao alcance de todos. Este projeto traz uma resposta concreta e eficaz para assegurar a rastreabilidade total dos produtos do mar, tirando partido da ciência dos dados e da tecnologia blockchain. As vantagens são absolutamente óbvias. Promove o aumento da confiança do consumidor, que passa a dispor de informação transparente sobre o pescado que escolhe. Afirma o fator sustentabilidade como uma vantagem competitiva dos operadores. Reflete um alinhamento perfeito com as exigências políticas europeias e as melhores práticas nacionais, e garante a capacitação e envolvimento ativo das comunidades locais em pleno contexto de transição digital. Para Portugal, as soluções baseadas em dados, na ciência e na tecnologia que fomentem a competitividade da nossa economia azul são e serão sempre da maior relevância e muito bem-vindas. Precisamente neste âmbito e no quadro do programa Mar 2030, o Governo de Portugal elegeu a recolha de dados como uma prioridade absoluta. É através da recolha de dados que os setores da pesca e da aquacultura podem beneficiar de ferramentas informacionais mais robustas e de dados fiáveis de apoio à decisão. Para esta prioridade, estamos a mobilizar um orçamento de 86 milhões de euros, volto a repetir, 86 milhões de euros, dos quais 37 já estão comprometidos em projetos de execução. A este esforço financeiro acresce o investimento de cerca de 2,9 milhões de euros destinado a apoiar diretamente a transferência de conhecimento científico para os nossos pescadores, servindo como pilar fundamental para que uma decisão, mais do que informada, seja útil. O trabalho desenvolvido por este consórcio, na base da ciência, da investigação e do envolvimento social, deve ser agora seguido pelos agentes económicos. Há que pegar nestas ferramentas e garantir que cumprem o propósito para o qual foram criadas. Da parte de Portugal, enquanto nação marítima de excelência, continuaremos a acompanhar, a apoiar e a felicitar todas as iniciativas que, de forma muito clara, contribuem para a consolidação do modelo de economia azul sustentável e de futuro. Muito obrigado a todos, parabéns pelo vosso excelente trabalho e pelo sucesso deste evento, que hoje aqui termina. Votos de maior sucesso para o futuro de todos. Muito obrigado pela vossa atenção.
Okay, so this is the end of the day. Thanks again for everything. I think we enjoyed the discussions. I think that we understood that it is very important that we maintain the communication, the connection between science and society, policy and practice, and between innovation and the people it is meant to benefit. And that's it. Wishing you a nice evening.